going.
And we want to be recording this too, right?
It gets pre-recorded already.
Oh, gotcha.
All right, let's see who is in chat right now. Hey, Yosef, Gamer Leadish, Armin Kazumi, how's it going?
Guys.
Hey guys. Chatting
Yes,
up with us in here.
Caleb got the haircut.
Whoa, the haircut. Yeah, I know. Pretty much. I mean, it had to happen at some point. It's kind of annoying that it took this long, but I mean, that being said, it is what it is.
Yes.
As you know. Thanks, Yosef. I appreciate it.
Hey, Lunar.
Hey, Lunar. How's it going? Mic is not working. Mic's working fine.
Seems to be working.
Mic's working fine. Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's the end of the day.
Yes.
That's true.
Wisdom spoken right there. Hi from Japan, Maki. Yeah, mic's working fine. Yeah. Exactly. All right, guys. So it's been a while since Game of Thrones ended. I mean, 2 weeks, but it still feels like, just with the monumentous, event that it was.
That's right.
It still feels like it was a while away, but to
Plus,
us,
we've done a lot of videos since then.
Oh yes, we have done quite a lot of videos since then. I mean, also to an extent, we're kind of glad that it's over because of the editing stress that was getting all those episodes.
Editing an hour and a half down to 10 minutes the same night.
Yep. Hey Taylor from New Zealand, you're awesome. Hey Remedy. All right, guys. So we wanted to kind of go through and discuss kind of the gist of what Game of Thrones season 7 was.
Yeah.
And maybe open it up for some Q&A towards the end of it. But Jacob, just overall general thoughts. How does this season compare in general? Do you think this was one of the better Game of Thrones seasons, or one of the not as good Game of Thrones seasons?
They hit a lot of high points, but they were high points that needed to be hit.
Yes.
So I would say it was a great season, but it was below par for the course.
Sure.
So, yeah, because Game of Thrones, right? Game of Thrones and the Song of Ice and Fire series, in both cases, they do this amazing job of building up to things.
Yeah.
Amazing job. So, I feel like this season couldn't have actually been terrible.
No, not really.
Like there was just no way. It would have taken some special talent to make this season terrible, but it could have been a lot better.
Yeah, I think that's the general consensus, is there were so many high moments, is that they couldn't really ruin those.
Yeah.
Those high moments are going to be high moments. But then there were other moments where they were going to be good moments, and they just kind of fell flat.
And a bunch of moments that didn't even need to be there.
Yeah, I agree. So when we go through this, we're going to be going through this in depth, guys. So stick it out with the long haul with us. We're going to be here for at least a couple hours. So what I kind of thought was really along those lines as well is that the season as a whole brought into it a whole lot of hype from the previous season.
Yes.
Which kind of ended in one of the best possible sequences of a couple episodes. So
that was pretty great.
With that all being said, what we get into in this season starts off at a really high note with Arya just slaughtering all the Freys.
And as far as like an introduction to this new season, I couldn't think of anything better. Like that was
probably one of the best Game of Thrones
satisfying
premieres we've ever had. I mean, we go back to like season 1 or season 2. This is on that level in terms of
it was really good.
In terms of a premiere. Oh, Cosmo 1400 watching this with a Hurricane Irwin outside. Stay safe, man. Yeah. Be careful out there. I know it's pretty scary.
I just want to say Shinzo Sasageo?
Oh my gosh, Jacob. But yeah, so what I think this season kind of messed up was more along towards the ending.
Yeah.
And I think it's an example of where Game of Thrones is in a strange place right now. For those of you that watch some of our other videos, you know we are big fans of anime, and we're big fans of stuff like Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Yes.
And that's an example of a story where the written material was exceeded by the show material.
Right.
And Game of Thrones is in that situation. It's been in that situation for many years now. But this was where it was more obvious that they were past that point.
And especially in the fact that you brought up Brotherhood is great because Brotherhood, I would say, is a fantastic example of what Game of Thrones should have done as far as concluding this show. Because with a show as big as Game of Thrones, right, you need to put ample time into the conclusion because it's going to take a long time to, if you really want to make it satisfying.
Yeah.
With Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, they devoted a fifth of the entire show just to the conclusion.
Yes.
And that was for a show that was 65 20-minute episodes.
Right.
For something like Game of Thrones that's more like 60 hours.
Yes.
Or more. You need you need at
lot
least a
dedicated
fifth
to the
or
ending.
more because it's
And we're getting
such a huge
we're getting
world.
closer to a seventh.
Right.
You know, so it's comparable to some extent, but Game of Thrones is in this place right now where they have a lot of plot to get through.
Yeah.
At least theoretically they do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of theories right now that we're actually a lot closer to the ending than we think, and
Right, and that the White Walkers are just going to take over everything. And...
We'll know that, you know, the ending of this whole thing is going to end with the Night King getting to the God's Eye and having this whole all come full circle in terms of the Night King's creation at the God's Eye by the Children of the Forest, and Bran being aware of this would know that this is where the culmination of the story would probably end up, and that could happen, like, say, in the middle of season 8, and then there's 3 episodes after that. So we digress, but back to season 7.
Yeah,
what they had was a very strong start. I just want to preface that right here.
Absolutely.
Very strong start. The part, though, that I would say weighs it down the most, unfortunately, is everything to do with Arya. She ends
everything
up
after that part with the phrase.
Yeah, exactly. Well, basically, she meanders a bit. Hot Pie throws her for a loop and sends her back north, which just seemed odd.
And if she had not randomly met Hot Pie, literally the entire season would have been resolved, like, by her.
Right. So, yeah, with that being said, there's a lot of good points in the show, but I think Arya's Winterfell arc basically spelled the beginning of the end of my unabashed hype for Game of Thrones. I now have to look at Game of Thrones a lot more critically because there's things about it that just aren't hitting as strongly as if there's this culmination, this build up towards something grand and important.
And when you have something that has such a reputation for quality as Game of Thrones, you can kind of trust them that when they get to patches where you're like, are they really doing this, and you're not quite sure about the direction of it, you trust them because you're like, you know what, you've always, you know, pulled through before, so I'm going to trust that this is going to be good.
Yes.
But that was broken.
That was broken. Yeah, exactly.
Like, yeah.
Mariana Skarsgård, do you think that it's possible that Jaime is Azor Ahai? No, but that would be interesting. There's a lot of people that could fulfill the prophecy of Azor Ahai, and I think one of the things that Martin makes a point of, this is kind of book knowledge stuff, this isn't really a show kind of discussion at that point, that a lot of people fulfill the role of Azor Ahai, but no one fulfills it perfectly. And that's kind of the point of prophecies, is that they have inconsistencies and they're told slightly different, and each culture has their own kind of Azor Ahai figure.
Right.
It's kind of like how in our history of just the earth and the world, everyone has different stories that all line up around the same things about, like, the early times of humanity and society as a whole. Yeah, we're keeping the discussion Game of Thrones related, guys. But if you have questions about us in particular, we might save those for the end as well. But if you want to talk, Game of Thrones related things, let them in there, and we'll pull out a Game of Thrones question here and there. Does it ever say actually that it's Earth they're on? No, of course not. I'm talking about our history and how Game of Thrones in the books pulls out prophecies in the same way that we talk about myths and legends, and there's a lot of crossover in myths and legends in real life, just like there is in Game of Thrones. So back to the 7th season. Where do you think were the really high points that they really just nailed perfectly?
Well, yeah, the whole beginning part with Arya. the whole episode that I forget which numbered episode it was, but the one that ended with Elena dying. That episode was fantastic.
Yes, it was.
And the one after that with the dragon attack was amazing. Unfortunately, it wasn't followed up very well with like how Jamie survived and like swam underwater for half a mile while holding his breath in armor.
Yeah, exactly.
But that episode was golden.
It was quite something. The build up to the fight of basically the two queens and their armies and their pieces that they're moving on the battlefield felt very much like a chess game to me.
Yeah.
And as a chess player, I got really excited seeing Tyrion's moves get counterplayed.
Yes.
And one of the things that I've rarely seen in Game of Thrones like actively played out. In this way, it wasn't actively played out, but it was shown in a really quick fashion, which I liked. Was strategy.
Yes.
And there was a really like deftly played moment of strategy where Jamie makes his move and abandons Casterly Rock, which to be fair, I was so hyped for a Casterly Rock siege.
Yeah.
And we got all played by the fact that they decided, no, we're going to go take Highgarden, take the gold. We care about resources. We do not care about dead castles somewhere in the west.
And
that was just genius.
Well, and okay, here's one of the other things that was fantastic about that. So Tyrion is a very smart guy, right? Mm-hmm. One of the things that happens a lot of the time, though, in stories is when you have someone that's really smart or really good at something. This happens actually a lot in anime with regards to fights, where it's like someone's really strong, and then that means that if someone isn't as strong as them or isn't as smart as them, they cannot get beaten by them. And that's not how the world works. Mm-hmm. And the fact that they had Jamie just use a trick that Tyrion didn't expect and hadn't really seen before, but Jamie had been used on him, then he used it on Tyrion, and it worked perfectly.
Right, and it was a perfect callback in terms of continuity that Robb Stark did basically the same thing to them, which is probably one of the only moments of strategy that was involved in really the entire Game of Thrones thing, except for maybe the Battle of Blackwater Bay with the wildfire.
Sure.
But other than that, Game of Thrones tries to kind of avoid showing pitched battles in that respect by using political intrigue, but in this case, the avoiding, so to speak, of the battle was handled in such a way that it made sense beyond just production limits. Because we knew that they were saving the budget for some kind of massive dragon battle at some point.
Right.
Which happened in the very next episode, which I think we can agree was kind of the hype highlight of the season, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. When Drogon comes over the hill, the blood in my body began to just boil with excitement. I was so just hyped to see this massive, just monstrous lizard just flying over and burning everything. It created a conundrum within me because I didn't want anyone to die, really.
Right.
But I was like, oh, this is perfect. We can have Braun. Wow, Braun, not Brom. Different story. Or even Jamie die here.
Right.
Or, we could have, theoretically, even someone on Dany's side die, even though there were no really named characters other than Dany.
Now,
but
here's something I just want to point out again, and we've kind of touched on this about how Game of Thrones has been really good at building stuff up. But I mean, like, just think about this. That scene, we're seeing Drogon fly fully badass for like the first time, right? Just massive and torching everything. And if you go back to the very beginning of the show, people didn't even know dragons existed. And then at the very end of the first season, they hatch, and they're these tiny little things.
Yes.
And from there to now,
it's been a journey. So now we get to see it in its full magnificence.
Oh yeah.
A couple questions I'm seeing in here. Good morning from Japan. Do you think the Golden Company will break their contract and support Jon Aegon instead of Cersei? So, that is something we would like to talk about in the future of the stream here. But yes, we're going to deal with that in season 8 theories. Mariana Skarsgård, isn't it surprising that Jamie played Tyrion for once?
Right.
Isn't he supposed to be the stupidest Lannister?
Yeah.
Cersei's words. It's interesting because what they're showing is that while Cersei might be more intelligent than Jamie knows Tyrion better than Cersei does.
Yep.
And that's something that is kind of a different there. Like the next person actually says, Marco. Yes, Tyrion is smart, but he is not a military commander. Tyrion is more like a politician. Exactly. He understands more what people want, but he doesn't understand tactics and strategy.
Yeah.
Which actually could be a great distinction there, is that Jamie is a great strategist, but he is not a great tactician. The difference being that he can see the big picture and he looks at Westeros as a whole and he knows what's important.
Right.
He knows that Highgarde is the resource dump. We need to get there and get everything from there over to us. But in a moment-to-moment battle situation, he should have ordered a full retreat
as soon as they
saw the dragon. Yeah, just at the very least, like, save some of their men.
Right.
I know to his credit, it was already a do or die mission once the dragon crossed the plain.
And here's the other problem, because if it was just the dragon, they could have scattered, right? Mm-hmm. But they were the Dothraki too.
They were the Dothraki as
so
well.
they couldn't exactly run. The Dothraki would just ride them down.
Yeah. That's a great point.
So yeah.
Hayden Heller asks, have you guys ever read the books? If so, do you feel like events and things are being a little rushed? So we have both read the books.
Very rushed.
And yes, they're being very rushed. To an extent, we are used to dealing with book to show or book to movie adaptations being really rushed.
Right.
So we are okay with it because the quality has been so good up until a little bit more recently.
And I would say the main reason why we're harping on it so much for Game of Thrones is not because it's so bad in comparison to like other book to movie or book to show adaptations.
Absolutely.
But the thing is that Game of Thrones had it set up for everything to be able to be done right, for it to just be done really well. So the fact that it didn't do it as well as it could have and as well as it had in the past, it's just it's disheartening.
It just shows to an extent that they're running on their own thread of info, and that thread has gotten smaller and smaller and smaller as time has gone on. So they're playing things more, not by ear, but by, instead of year to year planning out in advance, it's more like month to month planning out in advance. What do you, hold on. As someone who only started watching Game of Thrones before season 7 started, around every bit of this season, Rusty, I agree with you. This was a very entertaining season. It's easy to really enjoy a season like this because there's so much of what we want that we're getting.
Yes.
And I don't discredit that at all. We have Free Sheep here. What do you guys think of GRM throwing shade at GOT by endorsing The Last Kingdom?
I don't know what The Last Kingdom is.
I would love to learn more about that. Send us some more info about that because I don't know exactly what that's about. Whose character arc was the most solid this season in your opinion? S. Dot. Great question. I think it's kind of I think it's kind of obvious, but to an extent it's not necessarily the character that you
let's say it at the same time.
Same time?
3, 2, 1.
Jamie. Yes. Yep. Obviously.
Yeah.
I was like, well, to anyone that's really like, looking at the story from a consistency of their character, where they started this season, where they end this season, but where they also came in the most recently in the previous season, I would say Jamie is the one that had the best solid arc this season.
Yeah.
If anything, he had his moments where it was like, okay, come on, dude, clue in. But to an extent, we talked about this in one of our videos.
Yes, he had legit reason to be not
so
decisive
with Cersei.
Yeah, exactly. Like it would have seemed very strange if he just left her immediately because she had her claws dug in deep. Whereas with someone like Sansa, she has been constantly betrayed by Littlefinger. Like, Littlefinger has just been a snake the whole way. She has no reason to actually, like, really keep him around at this point. Yep. So, they were just like, why?
But Jamie, in particular, goes from being essentially a loyal Kingsguard member and absolutely in love with Cersei still. Albeit, him a little bit disturbed by what she did. He rationalized it within his own mind because he had to.
Right.
By the end of the season, he's gone. He's headed north. And the points at where they got to that spot, to where he traversed that arc, were very good.
Yeah.
So I would say that there were other characters that had decent arcs, but there are other bits where you could tell that they were funneling characters in a direction to move the plot in a way and where it needed to go.
Right.
There's a difference between having characters make decisions that naturally drive the plot versus having the plot being driven in such a way that the characters need to get shuffled along in that direction.
Yeah. And now, don't get mad, but Jon and Dany.
So I think this is where we might disagree just a little bit.
Okay.
I think to an extent, Jon and Dany had moments where it was like that, where they felt like they were getting shuffled along, but I I am relatively okay with it compared to other people because of the characterization of where John is at. I feel like Danny may have been a little bit more of a stretch, but I think to another extent she's in unfamiliar waters, and we've never seen her in Westeros before.
Yes, right. And the things that happened plot-wise with John and Danny, I would say that made sense, right?
Yes.
Now, maybe we did want to see a little bit more of Danny just turning into, the fire and blood, all that stuff, conquest and everything. But I mean, did we really think she was going to do that if she couldn't handle slaves and like a kid being burned by Drogon? It's not going to happen.
Right. If anything, Danny's character had a little bit of characterization issues, but you could tell that she wasn't her normal self this season because of how wrong everything was going. To an extent, think about the amount of fear that she's going through with coming to what she knows to be essentially the end of her journey. Yeah. And she's so young, really, that when you think about those types of things, I could see the weight and the burden terrifying of the whole thing really creating a lot of fear. So I saw some really great questions in here, and I'm gonna make sure we bring them up here. People talking about the Golden Company, and we'll get to the Golden Company in a second. Will the Lightbringer sword be made from Daenerys dying or the Red Lady dying? Yeah, we'll just have to see. It's the whole prophecy thing is not being handled as directly in the shows as it is in the books. Choosing Theon as having the best character arc, I'm guessing. I'd say there's room for that.
His was good, but I would say his felt unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like not that it didn't need, not that it wasn't good, but why are we focusing so much on Theon?
Yeah, I know. Jacob's not a big fan of the Theon character. Do you guys feel like Cersei was manipulating Tyrion throughout their meeting?
Yes.
I would say yes.
Absolutely.
There's a part where Cersei does her tell to let him know that she's pregnant, and I'm of the theory that it wasn't completely confirmed, but there's the potential that she was even trying to manipulate Jaime.
Yeah.
With the whole
thing was a lie.
The whole thing was a lie.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably true. Who read the books and felt disappointed with the latest seasons? So we both read the books, but here's one of the things that I feel like a lot of people brought up this season that I think you need to have some context here, in that they're like, oh, it's fan fiction, it's just going a specific direction. When you come to the end of a story and you've been building it for so long,
going in a specific direction.
You know where it's going.
Yeah. And that was actually the biggest problem we had, is that we know where it was supposed to be going, but then we still got these things like what happened in Winterfell, and we're like, why is that, like what Brienne said about Baelish, why is he still here? Why are we doing this? We should be in full-on start wrapping things up mode right now.
So instead we got random intrigue that wasn't supposed to be there. But it should start to be... Game of Thrones should start to be more predictable in general at this point because plot lines are converging.
Exactly.
So area cutting Littlefinger's throat. Hold on. Comments are people talking about John and Danny. Fast. Oh, here's a good one. Gamer Leadish. Were you guys satisfied with Littlefinger's overall story and ending?
The way he died was very satisfying.
Yes.
Like the way he groveled and acted it out, it was fantastic.
I think that the acting in particular in that part was really good. One of the things that I think a lot of people expected of Littlefinger was that he was above things like emotional compromise. But what they had set up from the get-go
was that there was an exception to that.
There was an exception to that, and that was Sansa. So he was literally deciding to risk it all for Sansa. And in a sick, twisted way, that's love. Like that's not healthy love, but it is him being essentially obsession. With his plan so stupid with his plan in order to basically put it all on the line because he wanted what Sansa represented to him, which was Cat Stark, rather than actually the Iron Throne in his plan. And I think to some people that's a characterization thing that they have a problem with, because in our heads Littlefinger is this perfect manipulator genius, but in actuality he is creating chaos intentionally with himself in the chaos so that he can rise above it because he believes he is the best ladder climber of the group. And he's one of the best. Like in terms of people that played the Game of Thrones over the course of the last bit of story, it's hard to top anyone. Like, it's hard to top Littlefinger. I mean, we go through it, and Tywin, I'm trying to think of anyone else other than maybe Daenerys in some of the earlier stuff, but she's kind of separate in my opinion because, you know, she's an SOS. So I don't know, do you think of anyone that's better at playing the Game of Thrones than Littlefinger? It's really, really hard to...
I would say Dany you can't really put on that list because she has dragons.
Well, not only that, she's in a different country.
She's also in a different country, and if you think about it, she doesn't actually have the stomach to play the Game of Thrones. I'm sorry, I said it, but she's playing it playing.
Yeah, exactly. So, to an extent, no, we're disappointed that, you know, we didn't get to see more chaos from him.
The lead up to it wasn't good, but
the culmination was satisfying.
That was very satisfying.
I think it's stupid that season 7 didn't hint at wildfire at all. I hope it isn't used as an ex machina in season 8. It's not. It's probably not.
Yeah.
One of the things that I have strong trust in Game of Thrones is that if there's an ex machina, it's not going to be a plot device. It's going to be a character like Bran.
Right.
And Bran is a walking ex machina, Deus ex machina, so it's okay in that regard.
Well, and here's the other thing. They're not going to have the same finale twice.
True.
So they used wildfire in this big thing, and it was amazing and crazy. They're not going to do that so soon again.
Oh, this is a good one because this one bugged us, and people were saying, "Oh no, it's all being communicated." Hayden Heller asked, "Maybe you guys can help me figure out how Arya and Sansa piece together Littlefinger's crimes."
Apparently, there's a deleted scene in which Sansa talks to Bran. And
he tells her
things.
And they decided that to put dramatic tension into the mix.
Because they wanted it to seem like Sansa was actually going to have Arya killed or arrested or whatever to take it out. And I'm sorry, but that is lazy and that is bullshit. And I can't believe they did that.
So I think that's an example of something where you can tell that they're playing the Hollywood game. We're going to sacrifice good storytelling for just extra melodrama, and I think that can be done. Melodrama is not bad,
right? The way you phrased that was in a way that makes it like automatically bad. But it's the idea that they're prioritizing dramatic tension first, and dramatic tension is good.
Yes,
like in general, it is good. You just need to, you know, make people still be invested in. Enveloped in the story when it happens.
Yeah.
Because
and characters are the perfect anchors for that.
Exactly.
Yeah, because we've been with them for so long.
Right. But if the audience is ever pulled out of the story when there's dramatic tension, or even worse, because of the dramatic tension, that is like the definition of melodrama.
Yeah, it's the definition of bad melodrama.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there good melodrama?
I think there is a definition of good melodrama.
Yeah, that's right. In
anything that involves Jaime and Cersei, I have seen as being relatively good melodrama.
Yes, okay, yeah.
That's why we like the Lannisters so much. Actually, can we talk about that for a little second? There's a lot of good Lannister melodrama happening this season. I think that's maybe a good positive thing. And we've always seen that as being handled well in the past, except for, you know, things like Jaime and Cersei at the grave of, you know, anyways, we just gotta forget certain things.
Not talk about
exactly, but
why they changed it to that.
I know. But the point is, melodrama handled and executed well is fantastic.
Yes.
Because it hints at character development and arcs kind of crisscrossing with each other.
Because when you can do, and by the way, Rush, yes, you should definitely read the books. But the thing about melodrama, and you usually see this in like romantic stories, right? Because if you're doing melodrama well, then that basically means that the entire conflict that you're dealing with is completely anchored around the characters and the fact that they are flawed and that they're not going to do things perfectly or whatever, right?
Right.
There's going to be miscommunication. There's going to be all this stuff that happens. So if you can do it well, it can be amazing. But if you don't do it well,
we all notice immediately.
And we cringe inside.
It can be pretty bad.
Yeah.
All right, let me go back and see if I missed any other questions. We've got... That's funny. Well, at least it took a creepy boy who, touching trees, sees visions, keeps saying he's a three-eyed bird to put him down. That's how good Littlefinger was.
That's true.
That's true.
There's the whole, like, and that is very true.
That is a very good point.
But the thing that bugged me, I would have. Here's how I would have loved to see Littlefinger go down. Bran says this thing of chaos is a ladder.
Yes.
And Littlefinger, like he did in the show, just sort of freaks out. He's terrified.
He's like,
and then basically he immediately like packs his bags and like either
books it
back to the Eyrie,
right,
or goes basically somewhere else to try and work his machinations, and there ends up getting killed, or even better, he ends up getting killed on the road.
That would be great. It'd be so anticlimactic.
Just so.
I think they wanted a climactic ending, though.
Yeah, but.
Really, where did you find that info? Just wondering about the deleted scene. It's all over the internet right now.
Yeah, it was either on like an internet article, or it might have been in like the after stuff for the episode.
Yosef, I'm out. Stupid Europe at their time zone. See you, man. Thanks for coming, though. Yeah. Bran is secretly the Night King. We're going to talk about that. I am a huge pusher of that theory. All right, wait, last comment. George gave 2 in-depth comments in 2 separate interviews a week prior to episode 7, detailing how Ramsay's character was specifically created for Theon's arc, and how Theon and Jon scene, which is a reunion discussion I've always wanted, playing out that they're foils, really hyped me up and boosted Theon's arc to me, even if I didn't agree with all the observations. Okay, I see where you're going with this, in that Theon is kind of the main character of that whole section of the story with the Boltons and things like that. And it's unfortunate because when you take Theon's kind of story and stuff, there's so much of it that gets relegated to just that scene where Ramsay is torturing him forever. And it's good that they have a character that had to go through that, because when you think about how harsh Game of Thrones is, most people actually get off pretty easy. They just die.
Yeah.
But Theon, he endured so much psychological and physical damage to himself that he has to live with it now. And that's really hard to pull off. So the actor, he does a fantastic job. And when he's on screen, it's hard to like Theon because his character is so fragile.
He's done so much stuff too.
Yeah, and there's all those problems and stuff. But the empathy levels are so high with him that I can't understand why anyone would
actively hate him,
actively despise Theon, because
if anything, I was just a little bit like upset that they spent so much time on Theon's character and so little on other characters, that I feel like they should have dispersed it a bit more evenly, since Theon definitely is a side character.
Yeah. All right, someone was mentioning that the deleted scenes are usually really good. The Sandor Sansa and Loras Marjorie deleted scenes were great. Yeah, we'll have to go back and rewatch a bunch of those, because those are or watch them entirely. What's your opinion on the Night King being a ripoff of the Lich King, given how similar they are? We drew the comparison in our video. It's a visual thing, and to an extent there might be some inspiration visually given. Yeah. But in the books, Martin has not given really any info on the Night King.
And here's something.
There might not be any similarity in reality.
And here's something that would be kind of interesting. So if you think about when Martin introduced the idea of the Night King, and when World of Warcraft came up with the Lich King, I might be wrong about this.
You might be wrong, actually.
I might be, but
no, it's actually, Jacob, it's really close. You want to go back and look. It's actually quite close. The Lich King is very old in terms of Warcraft.
Okay,
lore.
well, at the very least, the ice zombies predate the Lich King, because that was the first Game of Thrones book,
but that's not even a thing exclusive to Game of Thrones. There have been zombies and things for forever. I want to answer this question. Hayden Heller, can you guys think of some good reasons why Sam wouldn't give Gilly any credit for finding out that crucial bit of information about Jon's parentage? Lazy writing. That's
lazy writing, and it's not necessarily necessary for him to give credit to the person who found it out. The most important thing is conveying the information. The fact he phrased it like he
was
found
the
it
one
out
that found it
is a little bit.
That's where the lazy writing is.
Yeah, that's where the lazy writing is.
But yes, to an extent, there's no real problem with who found it out.
Right. And Bran doesn't know who Gilly is, unless Bran
doesn't care who anyone is, actually.
Well, yeah,
that's another great point to bring up.
Yeah.
Who do you think will fall next in the Game of Thrones, or who do you think will die? Well, so here's the crazy thing. I think that they're gonna start off killing someone we actually care about.
I hope they do. I wanted them to this season.
There were a lot of people with plot armor this season. That's
there
all I'm
were
say.
So many.
So right now it's up in the air for Beric and Tormund.
Yeah.
And I think confirming that Tormund died actually in that part would be a real kick in the nuts because they really made us care a bit about him this season.
Yes.
More. I mean, I cared about him prior, but I almost want him to have his monster babies with Brienne. You know,
yeah.
I don't really care about the relationship stuff in Game of Thrones, but that his endearing, ridiculous obsession.
He's so endearing.
I love that. So I think he's going to be one of the first to die in the next season.
Right.
Mariana Scarza, who do you think deserves to sit on the Iron Throne?
No one.
No one? Or I'm gonna have a crazy theory that the point of the Iron Throne is that it needs to be destroyed. It's an uncomfortable chair that no one's gonna sit on it. But if anyone technically deserves, it's Gendry, because he is actually the rightful heir.
Well,
at this point, I know, bastards and all that, but...
Well, no, there's the rightful heir thing, but then also is the whole idea that... Well, okay.
Jon Snow and all that.
Well, yeah. All the Targaryens, yeah.
All right, so let's keep going. Do you think Theon will die trying to save his sister?
I hope so.
I think that would be a good way for him to go. Yeah. I don't really know any other way for his story to end. But Sam already knew it, no? He was the one that's transcribed it before Gilly read it, right? Or was that piece not transcribed yet? I think that point was that the... books he was reading or transcribing, they were both doing it together. Right. She was helping him. So the point that he's either transcribing and then she's reading his transcriptions for any mistakes, and he gets kind of a second feedback on that. Either one works. I don't know.
Now, can we just talk about the Tormund thing? So I think Tormund should have died too. There's a part of me that's like, no, because I want him to have his monster babies, right? He needs to get back to his big woman. But that's why we love character deaths. Yeah. We say we hate them, but we really love them. Yeah. Because we like the characters so much. And when they die, it tears us apart. So,
Yeah, I think that Tormund and Beric are going to die soon if they're not already dead yet. Right. I think it's actually
But they should have died in this season.
It'd be really... I think it would be really gutsy of them to just say, oh, they're already dead. You don't get to see it. Yeah. Sorry, the wall collapsed. They're all dead. They're zombies. We get to see a random point where Beric is a zombie, and he comes to Winterfell, and it's like
would
it's
he
really
still use a flaming sword?
Well, that's the thing. Would he use a flaming sword? We don't know. That kind of thing. That stuff's creepy. But I love that potential. With the whole zombie.
Who do you
mechanic.
think is the character that should have died this season?
To an extent, I think Ser Jorah should have died.
Sure.
I think that Beric should have died.
But I would say
Beric Dondarrion, because Thoros died.
Okay, sure, yeah. But if you had to choose like the one character, like to be that,
that really one to die. So I don't want to say Jaime, but I
was gonna say Jaime.
No, you know who I would actually have liked to have die, to an extent, like kind of more. You guys are gonna hate me for this. You guys are gonna
Cersei.
Well.
Jon?
So, no, this is a really beloved character.
Dany.
No.
Arya?
Yeah. Like you guys can like eviscerate me and stuff, but
so that she wouldn't have had the cringe stuff in Winterfell, or
I was getting to a point where I was like, I really actually hope that this ends in such a way that she dies or she fakes her death and actually assumes someone else's identity forever, and we'll never see Arya the actress Maisie Williams ever again in Game of Thrones. That was the thing I was actually really hoping to see. But I don't know. Let's move to these stories along. Like, what if Bran survives season 8, grows old in the future, wargs the body of Three-Eyed Raven before him, gets stuck in it, and guides his younger self, hence the infinite cycle of the Raven? I have a really good idea on the whole infinite cycle thing, and him getting stuck by looking in the past. So we'll talk about time travel stuff later. Good storytelling does not mean more character deaths. Well said, Pedro Roma. That is well said.
Yeah, but the thing is, Game of Thrones does character deaths very well, and we already care about these characters.
Viserion the Dragon. We didn't talk about that as a character death.
That wasn't a character death.
I think actually to an extent it was, because what think about it. So Viserion as a dragon represents something. Just as Cersei said, he represents the invincibility of the dragons.
Represents something.
Think about it here, Jacob. With the dragon dead, we are now actually prepared for all the dragons to die.
Yes, but that's the thing. I would say the Viserion death is not a character death. It's a statistic. There's 3 dragons.
Okay.
We've gotten stuff to care about Drogon specifically, but any other time it's just Viserion and Rhaegal.
Yep. I got you. Irene Sharda forever. If the Hound is in the north, what do you think will happen to him if he gets back south in order to have him face the mountain?
Well,
I think Clegane Bowl is something that we know kind of as fan service has to happen.
Yeah.
But they keep pulling it away from us when it gets close. So we don't need to have it, guys. It would suck, but it might not happen. In fact, what we might get is the mountain and Sandor Clegane fighting with each other against the zombies. Like we could get something like that. That would be sad and horrible, and like to an extent maybe the Hound will save him from his lack of humanity.
Okay, I could actually see that happening where the Hound actually saves the mountain specifically so that he can kill himself.
Maybe.
And what was it? Mariana? Yes, great point about Brienne.
Yes.
Yeah, you want Brienne to be with somebody who loves her for who she is, not because she is pretty or tall, like big woman.
Yes. Yeah. That's why Jaime exists.
Exactly, and I really want them to get together.
Do you think we'll see more of Mira and her family?
No.
Unfortunately,
they literally had a point where a character's just like bye, and she's like, what? And he's like,
that was pretty sad the way they handled that. What do you guys think about the Whites making the Stark sigil on the march from the broken wall? Coincidence or intended? Coincidence just as much as the blood wolf came from Jon when he died at the For the Watch scene. Do you guys remember that, where he was stabbed and people were like, oh, the blood as it comes from it forms a wolf? I think there's just as much likelihood of both of those being either a coincidence or intended. Yeah. It's up in the air intentionally, and one of the things that we don't know necessarily is whether or not the show writers actually get to see those parts of the episode actually happen, so that the graphics artists or whatever could be doing that as kind of like their here's my signature and I'm doing this goofy thing. Animators, graphics artists, all those people, they do that all the time. It's the question of, can they get away with it, or was that intentional from the show writers?
Do you think Tyrion will ever get his old brain back?
Think Tyrion will ever get his old brain back? Meaning like he'll become intelligent again?
Yeah.
I think he is still intelligent.
Yeah, I think he is still, and well, yeah.
Yeah. Where did the Night King get the chains to pull Viserion? There was a ship.
Convenience.
No, actually, there was a ship. They showed a ship that was there, and it's convenience, but it's also there was a ship there with chains. They didn't just materialize out of thin air. Cyrano's persistence to Danny's butter is an ironic. He died and came back as the enemy.
Yes, I think there's a lot of representative
that's what my point
symbolism with Viserion, but it
not
wasn't
an
just
a
character.
I meant that it wasn't just a statistic; that it meant something.
Oh yeah,
thematically.
Yes, thematically
beyond just nameless Dothraki or Lannister soldiers dying. It's different. It's way different. It's
absolutely.
It's not even similar. Is my
absolutely,
point.
But I would still say it's a plot element, not a character death.
Snoopy Dooby, I think Sansa's done for. I don't see any plot armor on her anymore. To an extent,
Winterfell could get sacked.
Winterfell could get destroyed, and I think that would be the way to start off the 8th season in a sad way. Is at the very least they flee Winterfell, but they're not long for this world after that. But I say that I wanted Arya to die previously, but I know for a fact that the show would be deviating from the books, because I think it was Martin's wife that said she would divorce him if he killed off Arya. So guys, that is the kind of plot armor that does not get broken. So right now, if anyone's going to survive, it's Arya. I just kind of spoiled that for you guys. But that's also how the books are going. That doesn't necessarily mean the show's going to do that.
That's true.
Still with the chains. Come on, Hardhome or near Harbor, and we saw the giant use them to pull the wall gates. Yep, I know. But it's all good. It's a good question. Cersei's sending Euron off to get fighters. Maybe a three-way fight between Night King, Cersei's living, and Jon's living.
I don't think so. Cersei wouldn't waste her soldiers like that.
Yeah, I think if anything, it would be cool to see Jon and Dany's people lose, but it ends up being a thing where it's not about the zombies, and it's what the Night King's actual goal is, which is at the God's Eye. So we'll talk about that eventually. Elephant Walkers, how cool would that be? Oh, thoughts on Euron's character? He was dramatically introduced,
and I did like how he was introduced.
Yes, I think his character though is kind of out of place.
Yeah,
he's a pirate in a supernatural War of the Worlds kind of situation.
Yeah, and
he's just like Jack Sparrow running amok as a villain, basically being I'm gonna get to my ship.
And here's one of the other problems I would say with Euron. So I'm gonna make a comparison to the Winterfell arc. Now, Euron was executed much better than the Winterfell arc.
Right.
But the thing is, it's still they basically introduced a new plot arc for this season when they should be resolving plot arcs
from previous seasons. Yeah.
And while it was done well, they shouldn't have been doing it in season 7. So
yeah. All right. You think Howland Reed will ever show up in the show? I know the book relevance of this character, and that would be kind of cool, but no. I mean, maybe, but it's too late. We're not introducing new characters next season, really. I mean, we might be giving further context to previously, released characters, but yeah. I think that Tyrion eavesdropping on Jon and Dany's boat sex means that Tyrion is jealous or just surprised. I think he's actually seeing the potential problems of incest.
Well, not that he knows.
Not that he knows it's incest, but it's also you don't get a relationship with people you're in work with. It's kind of awkward and causes problems down the line.
Well, no, he's just like, okay, the last few weddings haven't ended very well.
Yeah, that's also true. What do you think about Tyrion looking at Dany's room in that creepy way when Jon was having at it? He just sees potential problems down the line. Let's keep going. Will Cersei be left completely alone in the end? She says no one walks away from her, but everyone is.
She'll have the mountain, maybe.
I think to an extent, yes. But I think when she dies, it's either going to be truly alone by her own hand, or at that point the world will already have been frozen over, and it's just going to be a really cold, brutal, quick death. Like
I think her death might be cold. I could see that happening.
I think that could be the way it is as well. Hey guys, hi Maximal. Howland is a show for a single fight scene fighting Dane. Does that count? Yes, it technically does, but that is young Howland Reed,
right? And
not current.
They have to bring in a new actor for it.
They haven't done necessary work for Euron's character that's been done plot-wise and theme-wise in the books. Absolutely, yep, 100% agree. The shows feel like attack on for Theon, which is pathetic. Yeah, it's kind of sad. Yeah. Do you feel like the portrayal of Arthur Dane in the Tower of Joy fight scene?
I loved him.
Yes,
I thought he was great.
No. There's not talking about the actual. Oh, you're talking about Arthur Dane specifically. Yeah.
I absolutely loved how he was portrayed. He very much seemed like the uber badass like swordsman, even if the fight necessarily wasn't as spectacular as it could have been.
Yeah, it's a sword fight.
It's a sword fight.
It can only be so spectacular.
Exactly, but that was the look of him and how he carried himself, and his line of I wish you good fortune in the wars to come.
Nice callback to previous seasons.
Yeah, I absolutely loved that.
Yeah, the dual swords thing, I kind of had to get over it for a second, but it's fine. All right, so let's hold off on questions for a bit, guys. We're gonna get into a little bit of where we see potentially Game of Thrones season 7 kind of really taking the next step in bridging the gap towards the ending. So we have a bunch of ending kind of theories out there that we kind of see it makes sense and stuff. And we're carrying over other bits of book knowledge that we want to kind of have influencing the ending, which should be relevant, guys, because the ending has been plotted out a long time ago.
Right.
So it's more of a question of
how they're going to get there.
How are they going to get there? And what similarities can we see in the books and the show that carry them towards the same conclusion? Right. So that allows us to sleuth things out easier.
And that actually makes me really worried because
they're in such a different place.
They're in such a different place, but also they said that they hadn't finished writing season 8.
Well, they haven't finished writing. It doesn't mean they haven't started.
Well, right. But it's just one of those things where
it got pushed back a year, Jacob.
Yes, it got pushed back a year, and that's very good. That's very good.
Very good.
But that kind of thing where maybe they have the skeletal structure of like, okay, the major plot points are going to be going over here and stuff,
right?
But they don't necessarily have the details. That's one of those things where I think the Euron and the Winterfell arc and all that stuff came out of. Well, basically they had extra space and they had to use them for stuff.
But you don't know actually. Your information is spotty on the actual production side of things.
Yeah.
The thing why things got delayed for this season is there was actual conflict between the studio and the showrunners about the number of episodes. So there was some dialogue that needed to happen there, and as a result, it pushed back the release schedule for season 8 alone. Season 7 was all pre-done, advanced, just like all the other seasons 6, 5, and 4 and all that. So with season 8, though, they have to bridge the gap of converging the plot lines, which they've done a pretty decent job of bringing everyone over to Winterfell, except maybe Cersei and Euron and the Gold Company. But with that, I see the ending as being a 2-step part. You have everything that happens at Winterfell, and then everything else. Basically, the Winterfell stuff has got to cover at least 2 episodes, potentially more. I don't think it's going to be that much.
I say 2 episodes, but no more.
But I could see it being a very big Winterfell siege / strategic retreat south. Because here's the thing that makes it interesting, right? This season we brought up the whole thing of the Night King having his army and stuff, but they also brought up the fact that there's this kind of Phantom Menace droid army connection where if you kill a White Walker, all the zombies die. Whatever. Okay. What if the Night King has his own kind of goal, and the zombies are basically just his way of kind of pushing in to get there?
Sure.
And that's where we could get a siege where they could win, but not necessarily win all the way, because the Night King isn't even going to really care about Winterfell.
No, okay, I could see the thing of the Night King not really caring about Winterfell, except that he is literally set up to be the storm that comes through and just destroys everything.
Right.
Now,
so Winterfell's done, right?
So Winterfell's done. And here's the thing. Because they've been building this up for so long, it's kind of like how they built up the dragons and how they built up Arya and then totally failed on it, right?
Right.
When you've been building something up for so long, don't have it be like half-assed. The Night King should destroy Winterfell. It shouldn't be much of a conflict. It should be something where they're like, we're screwed. The question is,
who gets away and who doesn't.
Who gets away and who doesn't.
Yeah,
right?
That's all I'm saying.
And then we should have like half the people.
There will be some people at Winterfell that try to defend it because they won't leave.
Right. But
that's my point.
But they should fail horribly. Despite their valorous efforts, there's just no way.
So the Night King has his own goal, and he's going south.
Right.
Not just to bring winter and stuff. We have to be thinking about what they've been building up for, and it's all this Children of the Forest stuff. And kind of by nature of what we know in the books and what the show is choosing to actually reveal as being important, they've delved a little bit into how the Night King was created as a weapon in this regard, which means the Night King is not a weapon. The Night King is just a person put into a horrible situation by the Children of the Forest, and is living out his purpose in that regard. But what they've been hinting at all this time is the Night King going south for something other than just destroying the 7 kingdoms. And I think that whole thing is him coming full circle to his point of origin so that he can either close the cycle completely, or, well, to an extent, another way of closing the cycle is actually just end this whole this whole existence, this whole torturous existence that he's been dealing with.
Yeah.
So maybe the Night King gets upgraded to main character status this season.
So all right, if the Night King is Bran, then could the way for the Night King to close the cycle be to kill Bran?
Yes and no. I think to an extent that's the past, and that kind of has that whole effect of time, and you don't destroy the past part, you hit the end, you stop the cycle before it resets.
Well, right, and that's right, and if he kills Bran before Bran can do his
but then that undoes
the
everything that ever has happened, and that subverts the whole idea of what Game of Thrones is. And if they did that, that would actually be pretty bad as far as story and stuff like that.
Or it would just be something where future things won't happen, future loops. Or
whatever. I think that's like going back in time to kill, like past dictators.
Right, and if you think about it from the standpoint
that.
of Game of Thrones, since they have such a wide and broad audience, they're not going to use something heady and trippy that you have to like think about a ton.
No, but that's not even thinking about. That's just dumb. Like that's like actually just basic Back to the Future time travel stuff. So I'm talking about going and breaking the cycle in a heady way that's not going to be, something that they've seen before, in where the Night King basically goes, unmake me. I am done with this. Like, I don't want to.
Oh,
This
yeah,
is the
sure.
only place where we can do the ritual of stopping this. And Bran at least has the knowledge of, you know, this whole thing, so he can solve
Assuming
it.
he still cares.
Well, I think that's the point, is that Bran doesn't care because he's already dead. Bran is looking at this as like, this is not the Flash, Marco Minko. That's funny, because to an extent, I know that the Flash as a character is involved in time travel, but I've heard things from people who have talked about the Flash TV show, and they're like either praising the time travel stuff or they just hate it. I am a fan of time travel stuff
When it's done right.
when it's done right.
Yeah.
But I would say that Game of Thrones is pushing this story in such a way that the only way this all gets resolved is with some bit of time screwery, because Bran's still alive, which means Bran is important for the ending.
And that's one of the things that's kind of unfortunate about how this season went, because not that that's a bad way to resolve it. They could resolve it and it would be amazing.
Right.
But the thing is, because they're taking so long to resolve all this other stuff, we are basically being told that that's what has to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas they could have, exactly. Whereas they could have had it be this crazy thing where we're like, how is it going to get resolved? And we're thinking it's going to go one way, and then the time travel solving happens.
Well, to an extent, Jacob, that's what's going to happen.
No, I know, but because they've been basically padding for time almost in this ending for it.
No, it's just with Bran is what you're talking about. Specifically with Bran, his character was put off to the sideline to do nothing. Well, because the only thing they have pre-written for him is what he's involved in the ending with, and the ending hasn't happened yet.
Yes, that too, but also just the idea of all these little things that they've introduced, you know, plot like Euron and the Winterfell arc. That stuff is basically that's them telling the audience that we have extra time, or at least they think they have extra time.
Yeah, Rain Sarmiento, that theory is something I 100% believe in. It is thematically so perfect to have the culmination of this story be a kid who was essentially, you know, brought into this this weighted decision where they had to save the world by committing to this horrible thing. And I think to an extent the cycle might have to continue in order for the world to be saved. Maybe, if anything, that's what the Night King presents as an offer, is he leverages the existence of the world against him being saved by Bran basically becoming him. Otherwise, you know, this whole thing wouldn't, you know, happen. I know that it involves some time screwery and stuff, but I'm not describing it as well as I can, but if you go on YouTube and you look up Bran is the Night King, there's a very particular theory with the Night King's silhouette in like black, and it shows Bran is the Night King ? That person does a very good job of describing the theory. But yeah, I know a lot of people don't think he's the Night King. Yeah, like a lot of people are saying that doesn't think that, you know, this is the Night King and stuff like that. But if you think about every character in Game of Thrones that's been introduced thus far, every single one, who is the one character that has a specific plot that they're on that keeps getting pushed aside because they, you know, it's not their time yet. It's not their time yet. It's not their time yet. And their time is coming. Their time is coming. And
Arya.
Yeah, Arya. And the only really one that fits that setup is Bran. I would say to some people they think that Jon Snow is kind of the savior, and he's going to you know, fulfill all the prophecies and do the things
by
and
the
be
power of plot armor.
Yes, exactly. You know, stab the Night King with his flaming sword, and I think that whole thing is
flaming Valyrian steel sword. That's a bit excessive.
I think that whole thing there is just a kind of a stereotypical fantasy ending that we all want to see to some extent. But if you think about how George R.R. Martin at the very least writes his stories, he is not all about heroes coming
pulling the rug from under you.
And not only just pulling the rug out from under you, but not doing things where the single hero saves the day through the power of their magical thing that they have.
Yeah,
and to an extent, that's kind of what... Yeah, I'm sorry, Rusty, but that's kind of what Dany is. Dany is the one coming in, the princess that was promised, with their amazing dragons and magical things and all this destiny about them. And no, I don't think
Yeah.
she's gonna make it through the finale. Yeah, it has been stated that the series finale will be bittersweet. Exactly. I think that John or Danny or both will die.
I hope both die.
I hope to an extent that one of them will die, because one of them needs to live in a world where they're not the king or queen, and the Iron Throne basically becomes not what's actually important.
So here's the thing. That really only seems to be a thing that would matter for Danny. For John, they could do that in the sense that he's like following in his true father's footsteps or whatever.
Right. Like
not his true father as in Rhaegar, but like, you know, the person that was like a father to him, you know, Eddard Stark.
Right.
But I don't think they're gonna do that. Like that. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like there would be enough of a payoff from that.
I think that's right. But let's look about this not as like what's the best way that the story could go, but actually how it's drawing towards the way it could go. One of the things that I like to do when I'm analyzing stories is don't look at things and how you think they should go, but actually look at the data of what's being presented to you and draw connections towards the place that it is moving towards. You won't know where it's going, but you can throw out a bunch of darts, so to speak, of where you think this story is going to move towards, and eventually you'll get something right. And that kind of side of things kind of looks like Bran was the first character introduced in the whole story. He kind of is the beginning, Bran is the end. The Night King is diametrically opposed to Bran in every sense of the word. They even have similar powers in that Bran can control people
and
Night
cause
King
their eyes to change color.
Yeah, the Night King can control a mass of zombies and cause their eyes to change color.
Yep.
They are the harbingers of this doom, of this future that no one can escape, but all these other characters are getting sacrificed on the way towards them moving at their journey.
Sure.
And they will end at the very least interacting together at the God's Eye. Bran is the first chapter, isn't it? Yep. It's what you introduce in the beginning of the story is monumentally important for the end of the story.
The only thing they introduced before Bran is literally the White Walkers.
Yep.
The Whites.
Oh, and what a coincidence. White Walkers and Bran.
Yep. And
what do
Dany's
you know?
after that.
Dany's quite a bit after that.
Well, next chapter.
Oh, she is the next chapter. That's right. Yeah. Okay. Well, so with what we have, we have a season 8 that we kind of can avoid. Let's talk about, like, not talking about the ending there, but let's think about like how season 7 builds up for
how
season
8's going to have to sort of begin.
Where's that kind of
the two immediate things that I'm thinking of are the Golden Company and Jaime.
Yes, I agree.
Well, and then of course, you know, all the Night King's undead army.
But those are moving pieces that are headed towards important locations.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, peeps. But so didn't crap, what was Dany's boyfriend's name again? I can't believe I'm blanking like this.
Oh,
the scimitars with the naked ladies on the
comments
handles.
Help us out here. We didn't like him. He was kind of forgettable.
You know, competition.
Dario Naharis. Yep.
Yes,
Dario
thank
Naharis.
you.
Yep.
All right. Didn't he like take control of the Golden Company basically? He's
Second Sons, man. Second Sons.
Okay.
Come on, dude. Golden Company is completely different. Golden Company is more mentioned in the books, so that's kind of a nod to us book fans by bringing up the Golden Company.
Right, and and here's one of the things I'm a bit concerned about. So, Golden Company in the show, like, have they really been building up?
No, not much. They're just mentioned. Yeah, because in the show we've never heard of them before.
Right, and that's. I know it's not because it's in the books, but it feels like a Deus Ex Machina. All right, Cersei needs more troops,
but it doesn't do anything yet.
It doesn't do anything. And I would posit that it shouldn't do anything at all.
It probably won't.
It probably won't. And my question is, how will it not do anything at all?
Oh right, yeah. Skarsgård is bringing up the Griff. Is this the Griff plot line that's not?
Yeah, exactly. They cannot. If they try to introduce another Targaryen, another plot point like that in the last season,
they're not. They're not. Don't worry.
That would suck.
Like they had other opportunities to introduce Griff,
exactly,
or replace the the role that Griff plays with other characters, and they didn't do it.
Right.
So Griff, us book fans, don't worry. Griff is not going to be in this whole thing.
Peasant says, what if Euron actually just does turn out to be a coward and runs to his island instead?
Yeah, he's like, haha, I'm going to the Golden Company,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, absolutely. Nah, peace out. I'm going to my island.
With all of Cersei's gold.
Oh, that would be funny. Wait a minute. No. That's not what he's doing. The gold was paid to the banker.
Right. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, that would be funny though, guys. Imagine Euron.
that's...
He's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go pay for the Golden Company, right? He goes across with all the gold in his ships. He's like, screw Westeros. I'm going straight to my islands, and we're going to live life.
So
nice.
that is a good question. What will destroy Euron's fleet in the end? There's the dragons.
The ice dragon.
And the ice dragon, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh, that okay. That would
well,
be,
it's not an ice dragon, but
whatever.
The zombified dragon.
That would be just poetic if Euron was actually deciding, you know what, we're just gonna, I'll ferry the Golden Company across, and then I'll just stay on my island, and then this flying undead dragon just comes towards him, and he's just like, well, okay,
that happened.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to merge Griff with Jon here.
Wait,
the
what?
Golden Company will follow him. Irene, Sharda forever.
Maybe.
I don't know. That's
okay.
That's believable enough, but maybe. I don't know.
All right. Steven said Stephen Frechette said that he thinks Euron had a set of Valyrian steel armor in the books. If that is true,
did he?
I don't remember.
I don't remember that either.
I think
There's
I
a
would
lot
remember
of things
that
in
because
the books.
because Valyrian steel armor is something that I've been wanting for a long time. Because I really like the idea of armor.
Right. Mariana is asking, where is his magic horn?
Yeah,
that's a book thing only.
Yep.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they didn't even show it hanging from his belt in the show or anything like that.
Wasn't it actually something really big that has to stay in the ship or something?
I think it is. Yeah, you're right. Michael Compton, there's a Reddit theory that Gilly's son is Azor Ahai, the only child born beneath the bleeding star in a smoke-filled cabin and through Gilly's sobbing tears. Gotcha. There's a lot of people that fulfill the Azor Ahai prophecy, and that's kind of the point of the prophecy, was that everyone's looking for the next Azor Ahai, and it's not the point. It's that everyone has a part to play in the war to come, kind of how Melisandre talked in that kind of cryptic BS, where she's trying to manipulate people. That's kind of what the prophecies they bring up in Game of Thrones are.
Yep.
Unless it involves children of the forest, then you got to look at it a little bit more closely, which... Yeah, born of salt and smoke. Is he a ham? Yep.
That is a possibility.
Who was the one that said that line? That was an actual line in either the show or the books. Gamer Leadish. Who was the one that said that line? That was crap. I forgot. Anyways, that's a good one. It might be released in the Winds of Winter chapter. Renly. That's right. Oh, bless Renly. Renly was not good for this world. The poor guy. he just had a case of bad luck, man.
Yeah.
I think the Azor Ahai are several people. Exactly, Pedro. It's
or the prophecy's all made up.
The prophecy being made up would be a very George R.R. Martin thing to do. Did they ever mention the 3 betrayals prophecy for Dany in the show? I don't think they mentioned the three prophecies for Dany with the betrayals, because I think that's to an extent already happened for 2 of them, much like Cersei,
right,
whose 3 children were going to die. So I don't think so.
Okay.
I think when they got as close as they could to it, the blood magic witch lady, she might have said some kind of curse, put some kind of curse on Dany as she was dying or right before she died. But I don't remember them specifically talking about the betrayal. Yeah.
Can we just talk for a little bit, though, about the fact that there has been a bit of a development between Jon and Dany in season 7?
Yeah.
And there's the whole fact that, I'm guessing they will probably, maybe, they might not mention that Jon is Dany's aunt this next season, even though it's the last season.
No, they're mentioning it.
No, I know, but just
you're joking around as
because
the fact that they keep pushing it back.
Yeah. But
yeah.
So that's going to cause complications, not just for them personally, but will it cause... Do you think it will cause actual complications for, like, Westeros as a nation?
No, because I don't think both of them are going to make it through this whole thing.
Okay.
The point of it is that
not lasting trouble.
They do see each other as kind of the... It's not an any port in a storm kind of situation. It's a situation where they both have found someone who's equally strong in their conviction as each other. And that kind of power is magnetic. It's really attractive. So they, of course, have some kind of attraction with each other, but their relationship isn't built on much right now. And having something like this introduced
that was
could
actually
cause a lot of problems. I would say specifically for someone like Jon.
Right. I was actually going to say that I didn't really like how they, like, I mean, I knew they had to, and there were some sweet moments between them, but their romance did feel a little bit rushed.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's just the season in general. Yeah. Jon, she's your aunt. Spit take. Yeah, Michael, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Incest is nasty. Yeah. Yeah, it's Game of Thrones, so we kind of expect it now, which just maybe says a little bit something about us rather than the show.
That's true.
All right. Yeah, I don't think there's enough time for any rifts between them. Stephen Frechette. Yes, I think that's a very good point to bring up, is that it might be that they're like, well, I guess we can't really think about that now because it's the War for the Dawn, guys.
It's like, I'm your aunt. Oh, maybe you should sleep on the couch tonight.
Yeah, we're not having sex again. Yeah, peasant. Oh, look, Cersei kissing Jaime. What else is new? That's Game of Thrones for you.
Yep,
pretty much.
Yeah, and then, yep.
Yeah, Maria Skarsgård. I like how Dany was like, I can't have children, and Jon was like, challenge accepted. Did you ever think that she might not have been a reliable source of information? Like,
well, and also we have had it on a...
Have you tried my pecker? According to Tormund, it's quite godlike. Tormund's like, about that. He's like, shut up. Incest nasty, rape nasty, yet Khal Drogo made rape cool. What the... Well, yeah, Game of Thrones, man. No one's stating anything about rape being cool. Holy crap.
Yeah.
No. Okay, do you think Daenerys will happen in the books? You know what?
Okay,
I actually do think so. I think there's enough content for it to start. I don't know how it's going to finish. No pun intended.
Okay, and all right, that is a good point though, because the show is a lot faster to like throw sex in there than the books are.
Yep.
So it could be something like it could just end up being something where it's like absolutely nothing happens, but you know they like each other, and then maybe they find out and they're just like
yeah. I don't know. I mean, the books, there's a lot of relationship stuff that I think could happen, but it doesn't necessarily have to happen as much.
Okay, so do you think Jon will get the other dragon? So if that happened, that would mean that, okay, all right, let's just talk this through here. Jon banged his aunt, and then she gives to her nephew one of her children. Now I know to ride.
What the hell? Are you trying to make that as a joke?
It sounded funnier in my head, but
yeah, that's not funny. That just sounds stupid. What?
Anyways.
Okay, let's move on, Jacob. I'm sorry. That was cringy. Oh my gosh. Imagine White Hodor. That's terrifying. That is terrifying. Oh my gosh. Oh. Man, now all the comments are like, wow, that was messed up. Jon will be writing his cousin. At least Joffrey was smart enough to be concerned about Dany's army. That's funny.
Wow, so
just
Joffrey is actually smarter than Cersei in ways.
To an extent, yeah. I think the only Targaryen woman that can ride the dragons, I don't know if this is true. Yeah, I think there's an element of...
They did have that How to Train Your Dragon moment, though, with Jon.
Yeah, that's true. Alright, guys, I got to bail out. Got to get the girls ready for bed. They have school, and they haven't have to work. Talk to you later. See you later, Rusty. Thanks for coming, man.
Yep.
Cringe level more than 8K. Yep.
But not over 9,000.
Not over 9,000.
Yeah.
That was intentional. In episode 1 of the season, I sat and looked through that 1-minute White Walker scene looking for Hodor.
Yeah.
I almost did that too, but the scale of the bigger giants made me realize, okay, then those aren't small. Those are pretty pretty big. Yeah. Is there any LGBT character in the books other than Loras and Renly? I'm not sure if it's brought up. I think they're... Hold on.
Well,
I think when we got to Dorne, it was potential that there were some...
yes, she does.
Oberyn, maybe?
No, okay, possibly.
There's a lot of women.
Yeah, Cersei does, when she's missing Jaime, she calls in one of her female servants.
Yeah. Yeah, Effie,
I'm not sure
Oberyn, yeah. I think Oberyn was in the books.
I don't know if Yara was, though. Was she?
I don't think Yara ever had that brought up.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. It's an interesting point to bring up, because I don't think the books really cares to bring that up as much as the shows do.
Yeah.
It really anyone's sexuality.
Here's something. Even with the Night of Flowers and Renly, they didn't, because of perspectives, because it's a book, not a show.
Yeah.
I think the most that they ever got was basically Cersei making a comment about, like, what was it? I don't know if it was Cersei, but someone said something to Renly about, like, I'll put this somewhere even Sir Loras wouldn't find her.
Well, it's kind of like the part where Olenna talks in the show. It's like, do you deny it? Oh no, a sword swallower through and through. Those are the kinds of things that they would bring up in the books as kind of like he sucks dicks. In kind of
and not in a
crude,
figurative,
funny way.
Yeah.
Betting Gold, the Mad King, little dragons. That's why they died out. What the hell? No, that's disgusting. Yeah. All right. So, moving on.
Yeah.
The show in particular, I think, really handled a couple of little monologues quite well. I wanted to kind of bring this up because each character seemed to have less dialogue and more monologue, and I want to say this as a prospective writer, and you can say this from being an actual writer.
Yeah.
Monologues are easier to write than dialogue, right?
Yes, they are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But really good monologues in context of dialogue is really good. And I think John had a really good one.
He had a lot of them.
Yes, I know. He had a really good one when he's talking with Dany and Tyrion and all of them at the War Council room when they're talking about, with respect to Grace, I don't need your permission.
Yeah.
And that whole line after that. But also people like Arya talking about her father, Winterfell. That was a pretty decent little monologue there.
Yeah. Almost made me forgot about what was happening around it.
Yeah, there were also ones with Cersei. There's ones with Tyrion. There's just a couple out there, and I think maybe bringing up like a couple of them kind of helps you remember, like, wow, there's some really just powerful bits of dialogue spoken.
There really were.
Even though they were in a monologue format. Like, were there any that you guys in particular in the chat, like, remember and go, oh, that line really, like, hit me. That was good stuff. I can just remember a couple from John, like the one about words not meaning anything anymore.
Oh, yeah. That was a good one.
If we keep lying to ourselves, then words, they just don't end up meaning anything anymore.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, basically. Yep. By monologue, you mean thinking? No,
no,
I mean like one person
monologue.
Just speaking out into the open air with no one really responding to them.
Olenna.
Olenna, yes.
That was...
Oh my gosh.
Boy. Like...
So right after she drinks it, she's like, good. And then she just goes off on Jaime for a full-on, like, 80 seconds. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Shame she didn't rat out Littlefinger when she talked to him. Yeah, it wasn't relevant, and also to an extent...
She didn't want him to steal from her spotlight.
Right, yeah. I think her bringing up Littlefinger would have rustled her ego as if Littlefinger was anyone important.
Exactly.
Because she knows she's gonna die, so she cares about who's right in front of her.
And she never listens to clever men.
Tell Cersei it was me. Yeah, mic drop. Exactly, Windsor.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. After that episode, I was just like, boom. Just
Yep. It was.
Olenna has always been the queen of shade. She throws it
absolutely.
and just dishes it out so well. And she can take it as well and just send it right back at them. And I think the only conversationalist that sparred with her and won was Tywin. There was a part where they were talking about the royal wedding and the cost of it. And she's like, does the grain and barley that we produce, and do you care about all that? And Tywin basically just says, I don't care, you will pay for this. This is a royal wedding, and all that. And she's like, okay, fine, yes. Your reputation precedes you. But yeah, Olenna is fantastic. Some of the Tyrion stuff, yes. Tyrion had some pretty good monologues here and there.
Talking to Jaime and talking to Cersei, yeah.
If I was Jaime, I would have cut Olenna in half. He was pretty centered. Yes, I think that Jaime is still a knight. He is not. Right. He is a disgraced knight by many definitions of it.
And I would say because of that, he is actually trying to be more honorable.
Yes.
Because people are constantly seeing him as being dishonorable.
Right. Exactly. Tywin is the best. Yeah, Tywin was one of my favorite characters in the show.
That was fantastic.
Of just Charles Dance carrying this magnetism, and I am. Anyone who has to say he is the king is no king.
I still sometimes go back and rewatch the clips of him and Arya talking.
Yeah. She got revenge for her grandchildren dying before they died. Yeah, I think to an extent that's kind of the things that makes Game of Thrones so good, is we have these characters who die, but right around the time that they die, some really good plot-centric character interaction dynamic stuff happens, and it just shakes up everything, and we as observers just get to go, oh, this is gonna be good.
Yeah.
Jaime attacked children. He could have attacked an old lady. But it didn't make sense at the time.
Yeah.
Charisma. Exactly.
And he might have been too shocked too.
How do you think Jon will take to the news of his parentage? Will he resent Ned for a short time for not telling him the truth?
No, that'd be too petty.
I think Jon is the type to not brood in an angry way.
Right.
He's gonna brood in a way where he internalizes it all.
Yeah.
He's not gonna, why didn't my father tell me about this thing? And he goes and kicks chairs and yells at people. That's not Jon.
Obi-Wan's holding me back.
Right? Yeah, he's not Anakin Skywalker, guys. Yeah. He does have that kind of furrowed brow and I'm brooding.
Yeah.
Jon was angry when he saw what the wall was really like, actually.
Well, he was still a boy then.
Yeah, he was pretty young. Yeah. The king is tired. Perhaps some essence of nightshade to help him sleep. I always saw that as foreshadowing that Joffrey would get poisoned, because once he said that, nightshade in low doses will put people to sleep, but in higher doses it will kill them. And I was like, oh, is that foreshadowing for Joffrey dying? Oh, yeah. And technically he promised to kill him, but then he died. Yes. And such is the thing with Game of Thrones. I think if you expect this ending to have all the plot lines wrapped up in a neat little bow, you will be disappointed. But
if you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention.
Yeah. So with that in mind, we don't need all these characters to wrap up with a wonderful, clean ending. And that's just not how Game of Thrones is. I hadn't spotted that foreshadowing before. I know, right? It's one of those things where you're like, wait a minute, holy crap, that's like the final episode of season 3, right after Reigns of Castamere, when Joffrey's like freaking out, like, oh, the wolf's head is mounted and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, Robb Stark is dead.
It's one of those things where like Game of Thrones would take a long time to rewatch. Mm-hmm. If you did, I get the feeling like you just get so much stuff
on a rewatch.
Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, well, I think that we're kind of starting to wrap up here. Like, I think kind of with what we've got thus far, we could maybe go a little bit into our theorizing.
Sure.
But other than that, season 7 had a small number of things that it brought up, but I wouldn't want to go on a minute by minute, detail by detail, character by character.
Yeah, most of that
analysis.
stuff we already covered in our individual episode discussions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can watch those and kind of get the gist of it from there. And there's the actual progression thing of seeing how we came to a bunch of those conclusions.
Any other theories, though, about Season 8 and how it's going to go?
Yeah, I think that the main theories revolve around who's dying, where this is going to end, will they have anything post resolution of the Song of Ice and Fire portion of the story? Like, will they have a here's where everything is going now kind of bit of it, where it's like an epilogue? I think to an extent that is something we can actually theorize as being like potentially there, but it doesn't have to be. Like that's
it doesn't have to be.
That's a really tough question,
especially depending on how well they do it leading up to that.
Yeah.
But I kind of hope they have sort of a Mass Effect style, like see what the world's like afterwards. You know.
Yeah, I think that would be good, but I don't want them spending an entire episode on epilogue. Essentially.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Maybe like 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Yeah, you know? maybe like 20 or 30.
Sure, yeah, but
yeah, I think that's a good point. I just hope too clean or dirty that there's no plot lines left to the wolves peasant. Yeah, unfortunately, I can almost guarantee you that's going to happen.
Yeah,
at least one, and that's not a problem,
because Game of Thrones has so many plot lines.
So many. Like we could go back, guys. We could go back. There are plot lines that are like most of you guys have forgotten about probably. Right. That are just they're not going to get brought up.
I still want Arya to meet back up with Gendry and the Hound, but that's
not a plot line though.
Well, no, I know, but but it's something. Well, okay. I would say with the case of the Hound, it is because you thought he was dead and then he's not. Arya did leave him for dead, so it's kind of something that you'd want to see in there. But
why do you think Ned never told Catelyn about any of this? She would have kept the secret. To an extent,
maybe that was a mistake on Ned's part.
No, because he made his sister the promise that he wouldn't tell anyone.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And the thing is, even if Catelyn didn't tell anybody, I could see Robert maybe getting a little bit suspicious.
Yeah, I agree. Who do you think is the best character development from 1 to 7? Oh, that's tough. Because you have to pick someone that's lived throughout the whole thing, right?
Right. Yeah.
I don't think you have to, but
you kind of do.
Doesn't that automatically basically make it be someone like Daenerys or Jaime? Like those two have had huge arcs, and the girls Arya and Sansa, they've had decent stuff, but they had so many slow stalled kind of moments.
I would say Jaime.
I would say Jaime or Jaime or Dany. Because I would say Jon, you can't really put on that because he also had a lot of slow development.
Right.
Even though he got a ton of screen time, there wasn't necessarily as much development.
Yeah, I would say it's a similar thing with Dany, and that's why Jaime maybe has better development because Dany, a lot of the time it's about the plot stuff that's happening and things like that, but not necessarily about how she's growing personally. There's a lot of that stuff early on, but then that kind of went to the background because now she has armies and all this stuff. Right.
I'd love to see you guys stream more, Peasant. Glad I could get lucky and see the stream up. Oh, thanks, man. Or Effie's saying, yeah, me too. Anime is art. I'm betting money on GOT the movie.
I would not be surprised.
I would love that.
I would not be surprised.
But I've heard that instead of having GOT the movie, what they're having is just a 2-hour long finale episode.
Right. Now, do you think
that's basically a movie though?
Now, do you think that could be something where they actually have it in theaters?
No, I don't think it would make sense to.
Probably not.
So what happens to Illyria? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. See, the point ends left behind shouldn't be gaping, shouldn't be too bothered by it. Yeah.
Yeah.
These are other people like Tyrion, Bronn, Hot Pie. Are these people that you think had
need to die or
are gonna have great development or just gonna have plot lines left open? I'm curious about that.
I want Hot Pie to show up last episode. That would be That would be hilarious. Hot pie is Azora High. There you go.
Ha!
There you
go. That's a Reddit theory.
Yeah.
Go put that down. Get yourself posted to the front page. That's fantastic. They scheduled 4 spinoffs already, so at least we can wait for that. They have actually scheduled 5 spinoffs. And yeah, it's going to be pretty insane.
So which of you is
great development? Tyrion. Yes. Tyrion.
He did get some pretty great development.
Really good development, but I think Tyrion's was more or less developed in big chunks. His wasn't as consistent all across.
and the other thing I would say is that while Tyrion had great development in the everywhere he was along his development path, it was awesome. Right. But if you look like from the beginning to the end, people like Jaime would have it better just because they grew way more than Tyrion, I would say.
How do you think the season will open? With the dragon like flying and seeing it setting its sights on Winterfell, like
yeah,
like I think we're gonna go straight there. If they start it on a boat and wait like a full episode to show the Night King, I'm gonna be a little bit peeved.
Yeah, or like the Golden Company, like
no, they're not gonna start with that. They're gonna start with something that
they're gonna start with Arya killing Cersei. Not happening, but
no, but that would be cool. Poor Varys. Yeah, rip Varys development.
Yeah,
he is actually my favorite character.
Still?
Like, no, he's not my like favorite character overall. But if I had to pick a non like, stereotypical main character like Jon or Dany or Arya or something like that, Varys is kind of my favorite like side character. Yeah, Peter did very well this season as Tyrion, man.
His
some serious scenes, like
away.
talking to Jaime and having the voice crack. You think I wanted to be born this way? Like that?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was
that whole scene
so
was
good.
Just fantastic.
Yeah, actually, this would be a good thing to bring up, guys. So we're the penultimate season of Game of Thrones, but sound off in the comments. Who is your favorite Game of Thrones character and why? Yeah. And I would love to hear specifically from those of you that have your character like who's not around anymore. Like for those of you that have a character that had made it
like
to
Ygritte or something like that.
Yeah, or Ned Stark, for instance.
Sure.
Whoever played Littlefinger did a good job.
Oh, yes, he did.
Yeah, yes. Aidan Gillian, he did a very good job of.
I was so satisfying to see him grovel. Like
that is way too hard to answer. You know what? I said Varys, so I know that I'm basically saying that by saying that I'm ignoring a lot of other characters. But whatever. Just throw a character out there. Stannis, because he went to the wall when no other king would.
Say what you will about Stannis, sacrificing his daughter and everything. Yeah. But yeah, he did a lot of things.
Stannis the Manus. When are you going to be picking up a show to replace the Game of Thrones reaction slot? The Game of Thrones reaction slot was not a slot. That was that was a specific.
It was just
slot.
like, how could we not react to Game of Thrones?
We will react to specific seasonal things as they come out if they are mandatory, like for us.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, Hard, I have 3 favorite characters. Tywin, favorite, only had 1 flaw and was an excellent player.
Tywin was amazing.
Tywin was fantastic. Marjorie Tyrell, rip. Yeah, Marjorie was a good character. Tyrion, because he has gone through a lot with his family and he has a lot of charm. Sure. What's not to love about Tyrion? Book Stannis did not do that. That is true.
Yeah.
Book Stannis is technically still alive.
Yep.
You're on because he has some funny lines. Seriously though, love Finger for how snaky he was and played the game right, man. Sure. Those 2 were
the Hound.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love the way his character developed. The Hound has had some pretty decent development. I would say that the Hound is still
they kind of
tertiary
butchered the Hound in this season.
They really
did. Like it kind of makes me wonder, why did you bring him back to life? Essentially, right? Make him not be dead. If you don't actually do anything with his character,
right?
Like,
he wouldn't sacrifice his daughter in the book. No,
he wouldn't even
sacrifice Robert's bastard son in the books. Yep. He was a man of honor like Ned, but he was ruthless like Tywin.
Yeah. He was, and he was needlessly stubborn. Was
needlessly stubborn.
Fatal flaw. Yeah.
Never forget Khal Drogo. Yeah. Jaime now used to be Rhaegar for the longest time. Jaime for the huge development. Rhaegar because he was so sweet, nice. He loved music, and even though he was the son of the Mad King, Rhaegar kind of got miscast by the misperceived essentially by the world of Westeros, all that. He's been looking for chickens. True, lawful, neutral. Who is the true, lawful, neutral? The chickens? No, the chickens are chaotic neutral.
Stannis.
Oh, Stannis. Yeah. True, lawful, neutral. That's a very good point.
That is
favorite characters. The name is Dothraki during Dany's wedding. Wow. Okay. So I read slow and I didn't get what you were going with that. Please notice me, Umpa Gaming. Thanks. Hello. You are noticed. It's good to see you. Stannis, Joffrey. All right, now we're just getting trolled. I can see how this is going.
Okay. Well, now, all right. Just for the sake of playing devil's advocate.
Yeah. Jacob, you're like, this is really hard.
So aggressive character introductions, right? We had a very clear picture of how Joffrey was. Now, the idea of the kill kittens like type bad guy that you just hate, that's so easily done poorly. But Joffrey was not done poorly. We hated the bastard. We wanted him dead, ripped into pieces, right? He was a good character even though we hated him. We absolutely loved to hate him.
Yeah. Did you love to hate Joffrey and his death? You know you smiled. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Yo, SOS, what's up? Hey, Vilius. Haven't seen your live streams in a while. Yeah.
Glad to have you here.
We finished Game of Thrones recently, so we're doing that. Good to have you here, man.
Yes, and you got slapped by Tyrion. You gotta love those moments.
Right? One more word, and I'll hit you again. Or that was like Season 1, Episode 1, wasn't that?
All I'm thinking is, hey, kid, I'll give you 4 cents for each of them vanilla wafers.
Oh my gosh, if you guys have seen
this guy's really ridiculous.
The medieval fun time story thing where it's the abridged, basically Game of Thrones thing, Jacob and I can recite the entire video. It's so funny.
Oh, okay. All right, slight deviation. All right, so the Eliminator mentioned Jack and Hagar. And that brings up a point. All right, this isn't my favorite character, but this is my favorite side character. Syrio freaking Farrell. Love that guy. He was in there for such a short amount of time, but every time he was there, I absolutely loved him. The way he was introduced, the idea that Arya wanted to be able to fight, right?
Right.
And she tells her dad. Her dad finds the most badass mofo out there.
The first swordsman of Bravos.
Yeah. Brings him over here, has him train his daughter, and it's like that. The interactions between Syrio Farrell and Arya were amazing, but just the way he was introduced and everything made Ned that much more of the awesomest dad in the world.
That's true. That's true. Oh yeah. What do we say to the god of death? Not today. Yep. That's so good. Yeah, Gamer Leaders, the greatest swordsman in the world, didn't have a sword, but he fought off, Meryn Trant and multiple Kingsguard with a stick.
Yep.
For a decent amount of time. I had a great time enjoying your discussion after to prepare for Monday's 8 a.m. stats class now. Thank you so much. All right, have a good one. Gideon or Kwan. Sorry for mispronouncing your name, but
take a drink every time Tyrion takes a drink. That is not safe.
Or take a drink, I see, every time Tyrion slaps Joffrey.
That sounds entertaining.
So I have played a drinking game. This was back when Jacob was, underage and stuff like that. But there was a group of us, and we were watching, I think it was season 5, and we were laughing about every single dumb thing that happened in Dorne, and I'm trying to remember what the rules were. But it was any time a cringy line is spoken by one of the Dornish characters, we took a drink. One of the guys was pretty done, pretty wasted by the time that whole thing was over. But we did not drink every time Tyrion drank or the Lannisters drank or something like that.
Okay, now Sansa, that is a great point because if you think about Sansa, as far as all the stuff that happens to her plot-wise, she's the damsel in distress.
Yep.
That's the situation she's in almost the entire time. But they still made her a good character. Mm-hmm. They did justice by her as a character, and if you think about it, so Game of Thrones has a lot of amazing female characters, and they really did help to pioneer that. When they first started coming out with them and stuff.
Right.
And the fact that they were able to take basically what is the hallmark bad female character stereotype, right? But do it in a way that was like really, really good. That's impressive. Like,
right.
I just take my hat off to them whenever I think about that. Not that I wear hats.
For sure. Anime is our most hated character, Shay. Oh. See, here's the thing. I actually kind of like how the show handled Shay. I think that it was a gut-wrenching moment with Tyrion's trial. But you hoped, right, that Tyrion would find some kind of happiness amidst this whole thing.
Yeah.
And you never really knew about Shay because of the fact that, she was essentially providing her services for Tyrion this whole time. And he maybe got caught up in the illusion of that.
Right.
Or she really did just betray him for money. Who knows? But that kind of complexity,
it makes you wonder.
It makes you wonder, exactly.
Yeah.
It makes me want to go back and rewatch it and see, wait, were there things I was missing? Were there signs?
Yeah.
Were there hints? I think there were signs and hints, but we were ignoring them just as much as Tyrion was, and that's kind of a rough thing to go through because we empathize so strongly with Tyrion that we only really see his perspective because we think he's right all the time when actually he's not.
And that's
wow. Here we are ranting now about season 4.
But if you think about it, that is really fantastic that they're able to do that because that means they have they've built up such an attachment with us to Tyrion that they can basically. Even though we know he's kind of being stupid here, right? It's like, okay, I get it that you want a partner and stuff, but you know that she doesn't really care about you.
Yeah.
We know that it isn't going to end well. We don't necessarily know how, and they certainly didn't expect that,
right?
But the fact that they made us care the whole way. Mm-hmm. That really says something about what they can do with characters in Game of Thrones, and that's
absolutely. I think, Mariana says, "Oh, I love Cersei. She's a good villain. I don't root for her, but she's just so entertaining to watch. What I love about a character is that it keeps me watching." Yeah, I think Cersei goes up there in terms of the Machiavellian, really impossible to just crush. Villain out there. It really elevates her above the average kind of schemer.
And if you think about it, her premise is that she's the evil queen.
Yeah, exactly. Straight out of a fairy tale.
Yeah.
Stephen Frechette, and in the books we see his perspective because that's how it works. Oh, with Tyrion and because that's how it works. So there's things you miss when you're through a limited perspective and it's not a third person omniscient.
She really is a drunk in the books. Yeah.
Well, yes, absolutely.
I mean, with good reason. Very good reason.
I mean, holy crap.
Yeah.
Oh man, what season did the series split off from the books? It was both 4 and 5 primarily. I would say 4 primarily because so what happened in the books? And here's what's really weird. We have book 3, I think, where the Red Wedding was in the first third of the book. It was the end. It was a third of the. It was a third of the way through the books. But book 4, remember?
Yeah, book 4 and 5 were split. Perspectives. So they basically had one that was the book 4 was mostly in Westeros, and then book 5 was mostly
in Essos.
So
when that happened, I think that the show had a little bit of a problem keeping things going in a linear third-person omniscient whole world perspective, and people like Bran, their storyline just stopped. He got to the tree and then nothing happened. Dorne was awful in the show. I think everyone universally agrees on that. What was the other part that basically crawled to a standstill? I think there's a little bit with Dany and Essos that lagged a little bit.
But it kind of lagged in the books too.
But it lagged in the books too, exactly, because she's dealing with the whole problems and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Season 3, when it comes to Catelyn Stark, we know what you're talking about. Yep. Yeah, that was a big difference because there's a lot of things that happened with Brienne in particular with the whole Lady Stoneheart stuff.
Right, Bronn did make it a bit better. The fact that Bronn was there in Dorne. You know.
Oh, true.
Like,
very true. Bronn is one of the best show main focused characters.
Yes.
Because he gets very little focus in the books.
He really does.
He doesn't get like almost any. But in the show, it's like, oh, we got on something here. This guy's fantastic. So, yeah. Lady Stoneheart is going to kill Jaime. Oh, in the books?
Well, yeah, because, where the books ended, Brienne was getting hung with Podrick. And she was saying, you know, like, help me kill the Lannisters, basically.
Yeah.
Jaime gets a letter from Brienne and Cersei at the same time. This is back when he's at when he's taking the castle back from the Blackfish.
River Run.
River Run, yeah. And then
and you know that letter is not from Brienne.
Right. Well, or it might have been, who knows. And then he gets the letter from Cersei when she's still in the Sept, you know. And she's like, please come back, I need you, I love you, you know, blah, blah, blah. And he burns her letter and goes off
to Brienne. Which is almost him basically saying he's about to die. So
who knows?
That's how different things are in the books.
That's why I'm very excited for the 6th book, because I want to see what happens.
Who are your least favorite characters?
In the show, Sand Snakes.
Yeah.
I mean, but they're not really characters.
They're dead now. Alive characters right now.
Alive.
There's not a lot of alive characters right now, so it's actually kind of tough to say that. But I would say it's very, very close between Sansa.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
I don't want to say it, but
yeah, I didn't want to say it either. But unfortunately, Sansa and this one,
Dany.
Yeah, kinda. Yeah. Unfortunately, like, there's so many people that we care about.
There are audio versions of the books, and they're awesome.
Yes, there are. If you haven't experienced them, stuttering there.
Yes, they're very helpful because
go do
it.
I mean,
the actual books are so long.
They are not really characters.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Davos and Lady Lyanna Mormont, I would say, have the most like just amazing epic lines where just everything they say, they just drop the mic afterwards and walk away, except that they're too awesome to do that, so they don't.
Yeah, the Onion Knight himself, Sir Davos, is one of those characters that you just survived. He's survived this long, but then you hear him talk and you're like, oh, who would want to kill this guy? This is just a good guy. Like, you just care so much for him.
Yeah.
And you know he's not gonna make it. Like,
now
he could get on a boat and row with Gendry, and by the power of just infinite rowing potential, they could just
and fermented crab. They just
fermented
row all the way.
No, why did you do that? No, you just soured my whole picture of the whole thing. Oh my gosh.
Anyways,
Jacob, you are ridiculous.
So okay, now do you ever get the comparison?
Yeah, Audible
between Davos and Iroh? He's kind of the uncle type figure.
Because
that's
there's a wisdom experience thing that's different. Yes, Iroh is very intelligent and wise, and Davos is very experienced and wise.
Well,
they're both
Iroh
experienced
is too.
I know, but Iroh has a different kind of experience.
Yeah, Davos. Yeah, okay, sure, but I would say they definitely kind of fulfill the same role.
Yeah. Forgot the words exactly, but Davos gives Gendry advice, and Gendry proceeds to disregard every single word. It's like Iroh and Zuko,
right. Yeah.
You know? But it's when he's basically saying, don't tell him that you're, Robert's bastard.
Yeah.
He has enough on his plate right now. Let's keep it simple. And then he's just like, my name is Gendry, and I'm Robert Baratheon's bastard. And he's like, oh. And Iroh kind of went through a big realizing he was on the evil side journey, which is why he could help Zuko. But I don't think Davos goes through that really. I mean, he realized that he was on the side of someone who had a rightful claim to the throne, like Stannis.
Yeah.
But he always knew that the Red Woman was bad news, and he was able to separate the fact that Melisandre was the problem.
No, she is.
It wasn't
crazy,
like he was all with what
down.
she was doing.
Yeah,
and he was, it had to come to the realization of it. So there's a big difference there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that's why Davos is not like Iroh. Gotcha. Yeah, I get you, Steven. All right. Well, To the gist of it, let's. Have we fully gotten like enough questions from you guys? Like,
yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah. Any other questions, guys? Because we love to talk more Game of Thrones with you guys. That's more like kind of speculative, where it's not like we're giving answers.
Or
but
just
it's
like favorite parts from the show up till now, because like we are coming up on the end.
Yeah, kind of think about it, guys. Like, for those of us that have read the books and stuff, you know, the books have been around for a long time, but the show itself has also been around for
a while,
quite a few years. So,
yeah.
You know, getting to that point, how do you think Varys will die after they said he would die? I don't know. Varys dying is something I don't want to think about because I really like his character.
See you, Anime Art.
Yeah. Oh yeah, see ya. Thanks for coming.
I read the books before the show.
Yes. How many books are there? 5 currently.
Yeah.
Most shocking. Did you read the book before the show? Even way. I think Jacob.
Oh, most shocking moment. Okay, so this wasn't shocking, but the scene that got me the most.
Yes.
Was Ygritte's death. Now, like
I remember
more than the Red Wedding. And the thing is, I knew, like, everyone knew it was coming. You know, like, of course you know it's coming. But that didn't make it any easier. Like, I wanted them to be happy together and everything, but you know they can't. And then it happens, and you just throw the book away and go lie on your bed for a while.
For the watch. That was me.
Well, yeah, that was crazy.
That was brutal. Because you read it in the book, and that's the very end of the book.
That is the very end, and or at least it's the very end of John's story.
And I think it's the end of the book too. Not 100% sure.
Oh, okay.
But that was what it was for me.
I remember there was, maybe it was an epilogue, but there was a little bit where they showed Varys doing something, and he kills somebody.
That's true.
With a crossbow.
Yeah.
My favorite moment, except for Joffrey's death.
Yeah, well, we just said that.
Yeah.
But favorite moment, not shocking moment.
Yeah.
Favorite moment, I don't know, because Game of Thrones has so many things in it that are really powerful. I really love Tyrion's trial in season 4. That's probably one of the best moments for me.
This is one of the ones that now I don't know if this is necessarily my favorite moment, but it was the first one that came to mind. In season 1, Ned. When Arya and Sansa are having a fight, she goes to a room, and then Ned comes up and talks to her.
Yeah, that's so good.
I absolutely love that scene.
Such a good emotional
in the books and in the show. It's just amazing because if you think about it, especially since they're going to be killing off Ned at the end of the season, they need to make us really care about him. And I think this was the scene that made us care about him the most. Like,
absolutely.
It was so good. Like, because it's, okay, in an epic fantasy and stuff like that, it's so rare that you'll have something so normal as a father talking to his daughter and trying to, you know, settle an argument between sisters, right? And that's what lends so much heart to it, because it's normal amidst all the crazy fantastical. Yeah.
I say those are pretty good. Favorite moment is Sam killing a White Walker, maybe, or one of my favorite. That's a really good spot.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the beautiful death posters that HBO commissions for each episode? No.
Don't think so.
Send us those. Those sound kind of cool.
If you could choose what house would you guys pick? Depends on if we get the Direwolves, Golden Dragons, but I mean, House Stark probably.
So let's do it from this respect, Jacob. Which house do you think has the best sigil?
Stark.
I think Targaryen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Black and red, dude. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
With that, Targaryen sigil.
Okay, here's the thing.
We need to come up with like some kind of dragon. Like, would it be like this? Would this be like the dragon kind of symbol there?
Maybe
like it's basically like the Shinzo Sasageo for this, but instead it's like, you know, dragons and stuff like that. Bolton banners.
Okay, well here's something I just want to say though. Giving the Stark kids direwolves, that is one of my absolute favorite things that Martin did. Like, because it's basic. Okay, who doesn't want a dog, right? But then
cat people. No, I'm just kidding.
But and it's funny because their mom's name was Cat.
And she wasn't a Stark,
but instead they give them dogs that are wolves, which is like even cooler. but then in addition, they're big enough to ride, basically. Like that. Oh, and by the way, they might have a psychic connection to them. Like,
just maybe.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't could get to that point and be like, I want my own direwolf. Like, I don't understand why you wouldn't. Like,
right.
Just
Mariana. Even cat people want dogs. Yeah, exactly. Yep. I want a dog without the responsibility of taking care of it.
You just need to get people to attack you.
Oh yeah, the Greyjoy sigil is awesome. The Kraken, that's true.
Oh sure,
that was a pretty good one.
Yeah, Ghost is just amazing.
Yeah, I think when we look back on Game of Thrones, what we come to realize is that, despite the fact, kind of a recap, kind of run up to what our whole stream has been about thus far, we kind of look at where things have gone and what things have experienced, and where things have, what has happened thus far. And we kind of go, wow, like, we are watching a fantasy series in its seventh season.
And, okay.
And it's good fantasy.
It's good. Oh.
It's good fantasy,
guys. We have been dying for something like this to happen for so long. We've watched crappy really bad fantasy shows because we were desperate for fantasy. Right?
And that's why a lot of us, I think, turn to stuff like anime, because anime isn't limited by a lot of live action problems when they do fantasy type stories. Yep. But I really hurt sometimes because for that there's no great live action fantasy stuff.
Yeah.
And then what do you know? Game of Thrones, which is like an impossible to adapt book series,
Mariana.
gets put into a TV show, and it's not just good, it's one of the best.
Yeah.
So when we have a season like this, it kind of hurts. Like, it kind of hurts internally, because we're like, no, don't go the way of all the others.
Right. Yeah.
And just end mediocrely. Like, we have so much high hopes for it that we put on it the burden of being the savior of all fantasy shows, kind of to an aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah, gamer elitish. Hopefully the show shapes the way for good fantasy shows in the future.
Yes, absolutely.
I think it already is.
Yeah, like,
I mean, and it shapes even the way bad fantasy shows are continuing. Right. They're all trying to be the next Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Which I think is fine, as long as they're not just trying to rip on the whole thing of people could die. Oh no. That makes it just like Game of Thrones, right?
That.
I think what a lot of people forget is actually what makes Game of Thrones so good is it's a ton of concurrent plot lines all happening simultaneously with tons of characters that are all enjoyable in a world setting that is handled exceptionally well.
And I would say that there are a lot of shows that will have a couple of those things, but very few that will have all of
those things.
You have so many shows out there. There are a dime a dozen where maybe they do have a lot of characters, and maybe some of they don't usually kill them off. But
yeah, that's true.
But like, the idea that Game of Thrones has all these characters and they're done well. Mm-hmm. Like, why is that such a rare thing? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't get it. Like,
it's a risky thing to do, I think. And Game of Thrones has basically shown that it's not that risky as long as you execute it well.
Yep.
Because I think what basically people have thought is that, people don't like fantasy shows because you look at the views on the other ones, they don't watch them. They don't get. We much rather do sci-fi in that respect. And actually, I'd say there's more bad sci-fi than there is bad fantasy, because people think sci-fi is easier to do than fantasy. When I would say it's actually not, because you have to explain things,
Well, you have to explain things. You also have to have more special effects. Whereas with fantasy, all you really need to do is get costumes and swords and stuff.
Yep. And Game of Thrones really does almost everything of that respect right.
Yep.
Up until, a little bit recently. Yes, gamer leadish concurrent plot lines allows for climactic moments across the season rather than in just the finale. Whoa, what an amazing thought.
Yeah.
Who could have thought that would... It's like all these other showrunners, they don't clue into things like that.
Well, and here's the other thing.
It also makes their story able to be shorter also,
yes,
in a way.
And also, one of the things that Game of Thrones has done is that they'll basically have the anchor that we have, the emotional anchor that we have to these characters, be enough to carry us through so that you can have climactic moments that aren't action-packed. One of my favorite scenes, and this is an Arya scene, but when Gendry decides to stay with the Brotherhood Without Banners, and she's like, but I could be your family.
Uh-huh.
And you wouldn't be my family. You would be my lady.
Yeah.
That like that scene's just amazing.
Rip feels.
Yeah, and no one was dying. There were no love affairs. There was nothing.
Yeah,
it was just good character interactions.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's basically the gist of it, guys. We're at a point in the series where peace and love.
Well, I was looking at Peasant's comment. Rick on not dodging. Why didn't you dodge?
Dodge.
Yeah.
Or at least zigzag, for the love of God.
Just try to live. Yeah.
I love how the GOT world feels so alive, like how everyone has a motive or life, and if you don't pay attention, you miss out. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's the gist of our stream here.
Yep.
We're coming up on 2 hours exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And Serpentine. Yeah, Lunar. That was a great mix up into there. And we want to let you guys know that when shows like Game of Thrones do come out, we will fill that into a reaction slot.
We'll react to season 8 somehow.
Yeah, exactly. We'll make it work. But for other things of that nature, we'll be checking that out. Someone who's saying, "What state are you in?" We're in Washington.
Yes,
Washington. You're amazing, guys. Oh, thanks, Matthias.
Yeah.
So. Whenever we finish a show or they go into like super hiatus land, we'll do some kind of discussion stream like this. We're going to be doing one for, I don't know which shows. We're not going to do one for One Punch Man.
Right. Yeah. We won't do it for things that are like super short.
Super short. We're doing it for things that are like really long or really.
Will we do one for My Hero Academia?
Probably.
Yeah. Probably.
But all right, guys, if you want to catch out some of our other stuff, be sure to check out our channel. Also, be sure to check out our Twitter and Patreon. Links are in the description there.
Yep.
Find some other good stuff. And, yeah, love to see more of you again next time. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.